Breaking the News with Dan and Jordan.
Today's episode is sponsored by the Pyramid Point Pens from the Organic Pen Company. Less smooth of a write, way more organic. And now, our top stories. Breaking news! After attempting to nuke the world and eliminate all human life on Earth, Skynet has a bit of a PR problem and thousands and thousands of T-800 robots to contend with. Well, worry not, Jordan, because the Walmart Corporation has stepped in and repurposed these one-time killing robots as Walmart greeters.
Walmart deserves a medal for what they have done in incorporating these Terminators into their workforce, taking them off of the streets, and giving them a valuable place in society. They deserve to be commended for it.
There's also a lot of crossover skill between being a murderous killbot and a Walmart greeter.
Yes, the need to quickly identify inaccurate purchases on receipts. The Terminator has a computer matrix, so it is very good at finding these incorrect items, identifying them very quickly, blasting them into oblivion. It's very proficient and efficient.
Absolutely. And unless our listeners and viewers think that the T-800s won't get a chance to kill people, they'll still be allowed to neutralize shoplifters.
Walmart is advising shoppers that any shoppers with the name Sarah Connor or John Connor temporarily avoid the store for the next 90 days. Breaking news! There has been a recent sting operation underway for many months, and police suspected that a local mechanics shop was engaged in organized crime, black market stuff, selling things that they had no business selling, stolen goods, murdered goods, all sorts of goods. And so they placed a rookie, fresh out of the baby police academy, deep undercover within this mechanic shop. Their investigation has not produced any evidence, but the baby mechanic remains in place at the unnamed mechanic shop to this day, gathering intelligence.
I guess I just have a few concerns about the baby maybe getting in too deep and starting to enjoy some of the raspberries and tummy tickles that only these criminals can provide.
It's possible, criminals and babies, they go hand in hand, just like criminals in crime. So who better to get to the bottom of this than a baby?
That's a good point. I have some breaking news now from the world of art. Are you getting tired of looking at the same old Mona Lisa? If you're anything like visitors to the Louvre, you are. That's why the Louvre has commissioned a brand new version of the Mona Lisa. It will be going on display starting next week, and you'll be able to see all the intricate techniques used to transform the boring old Mona Lisa into the fun new one we see today.
Lots of art is old and boring, especially art from hundreds of years ago. And so to see it revitalized in such a contemporary way, I think really just revitalizes the piece, brings a fresh new energy to it, and in many ways, most ways, is a complete improvement over the original.
Yes, now the new Mona Lisa leaves me scratching my chin in enjoyment rather than holding my belly in nausea like it used to. I've also been receiving word, Jordan, that several other works of art will be updated in this way.
Well, that's good to hear. Hopefully among them are Michelangelo's David and some of Da Vinci's works, as well as hopefully more of Picasso's.
Absolutely. That would be wonderful to see.
Breaking news. Sports is something that many people love. However, one man is changing the game of baseball forever. And whether it's for the good or for the bad is not for us to decide. We're just here to report the facts. Jason McReach has been working for the Arizona Cardinals for 3 weeks now. And no matter where you put him in the game, whether you put him in right field, center field, left field, no matter where, every time a ball is hit and he is on the field, his arm is long enough to catch it. Not a single batter has been able to score a point against his team in the time that he's been playing for the Cardinals. And a lot of sports fans are calling him the Mike Tyson of baseball.
And with good reason. I don't think anybody is going to be able to stop this monster of the game, unless perhaps we see someone come along with extra long legs in addition to extra long arms. I think that would really solidify his position.
Well, rumor is that scientists are working on elongating the limbs of other sports figures. Time will tell if that turns out to be science's greatest success or nature's greatest nightmare.
That is wonderful. I'm hoping that this technology can be applied in other sports as well. Perhaps basketball to block shots better, or perhaps in hockey, so one goalie could cover both nets.
As for now, it seems to be just a genetic anomaly, isolated with the individual, but scientists are hoping to isolate that gene and be able to pop it into other players willy-nilly.
Well, I just hope they'll be able to bring that popping sound along with it. Breaking news now from the world of crime. Now, most people would lock their homes or their cars or even their jewelry up in a safe. But there's a new item that thieves are on the lookout for. That's right, a hearty beef stew can attract as many robbers as a precious ruby. In fact, armed stealing of stew is up by over 700,000% week on week.
Those numbers are astonishing. I look at stew and I don't see the immediate value that a thief would go for unless they were terribly hungry. But to see that those numbers have skyrocketed means that carrying stew is now more dangerous than carrying a brick of gold.
Absolutely, Jordan. And the thing about a brick of gold is it has no intoxicating smell like a bowl of stew does. You can't hide those flavors, especially if it's a slow-cooked stew that's been going for 4 or 5 hours. I mean, the odors are they're out there. You can't stop them.
You're absolutely right. For example, I can tell if anybody in my building is cooking a stew because the smell wafts down the hallways, fills the entire building. And there are upwards of 40 people living in this building. So,
my God, if an armed robber were to get into your building at any given time, I hate to see the damage he could cause as he went from apartment to apartment, just removing all the hard-working stews.
Well, especially because people don't place a lot of their trust in these big banks anymore. So rather than store their stew in a bank, say in a safety deposit box, they're storing their stew underneath their mattresses.
That's right. That's exactly right. The only one stew that is still safe is a seafood stew. It seems that the robbers are not interested in that at all.
Breaking news. A bird has been spotted on the edge of a building, right on the ledge. Police have been called to the scene. They have brought with them a negotiator who's trying to talk the bird down and trying to keep the bird from jumping. A lot of birds have been jumping off of buildings recently, and we're trying to figure out why. As a society, what is the root cause of this and how can we get them to stop?
Well, I've got to hand it to the police because their response time to these birds on ledges are just going lower and lower. They're getting there as fast as they can. They're actually bringing the right kind of birds to negotiate with them, and they've actually been able to save a few birds.
They have. Some of those birds have gone free. They've flown away. Other birds have gone from jumping off of the ledge to flying right into a window. They seem to have some sort of impulse inside of them that they want to shed their mortal coil, but hopefully more bird lives can be saved by direct intervention.
Absolutely. If you or anyone you know is a bird in need, just do a bird call and someone will be there to help you. Breaking news now in the world of food and alternative fact. Now, Jordan, there's been many conspiracies that we've seen on this show out in the world, and while many of them are incorrect, I think this one might actually be real. A man named Phineas P. Jackson is proposing that there are little tiny pot pies orbiting the moon. And that is why NASA keeps sending people up there.
Well, if it's true, and I am one of the people that believes that it could be, these pot pies could solve world hunger. If they're able to capture these pot pies, bring them back to Earth, or maybe even leave them up there as a defense mechanism, say some hostile aliens come by, they're very hungry from a long trip, and rather than decimate Earth, they decide to just snack on these pot pies.
I think that'd be great, and I think that's one of the reasons that Phineas is so upset about this. Because while NASA greedily hoards these pot pies to themselves, they leave all these other solutions on the table.
You hate to see the world's brightest minds come up with some of the dimmest solutions.
Indeed. So for now, I want to just let you know it is still a conspiracy theory. But I would like to announce right here that we have a manned mission going to the moon to suss out if this is real or not, and we'll report back to you on that next week.
Breaking news now from the world of entertainment. You've heard of the flood of recent science fiction properties that have been all over the place. They're all popping up from a great big franchise that everybody knows and loves. And we're here to break some shocking blockbuster news. The Disney Corporation has added one more show to their summer roster, starring America's favorite actress, Goldie Hawn, in Goldie Han Solo, the Han Solo story. This is a reimagining of Han Solo as if he had all the charm and wit of Goldie Hawn, a fun, frivolous character in Mos Eisley. It takes place in an alternate version of reality, and Disney is said to have betted heavily on the show's success, renewing the show in advance for an extra 12 seasons.
Wow, that is incredible. And I think it's fair to say that you and I are both pretty big fans of Goldie Hawn, so this is going to be a no-miss situation for us.
I know I won't miss it.
I'd also like to say kudos to Disney on this one. Normally when you reimagine a film, you reimagine it with current modern-day stars for a younger generation, and here they've stepped back into the past to reimagine it for an older generation, so I really appreciate that.
It's a progressive move.
Indeed. Well, breaking news, Jordan, once again in the world of crime. I know this is a pretty grim show today, but there's a lot of crime news out there happening. Betty Ford, no relation to the famous rehab center, is wanted for sitting down on a bench. It's true, Jordan. I know, I see the shock on your face. I was shocked just reading the copy. This is the first time I'm seeing this. But she is wanted for sitting on a bench. There's wanton endangerment to the public here. She's charged with terroristic sitting and sitting without a permit.
My goodness. You know, some things are clear in life. Don't murder people. Don't rob banks. And until today, don't sit on benches. I thought these are the things that we agreed on as a society.
It's disgusting to see such a terrible breach of the public etiquette like this. When I see a bench, I often think to myself, oh man, it would be so great to sit on that right now. But no, that's not in the social contract. The social contract dictates you walk on by.
Unless you have the appropriate bench sitting license. If you've obtained that, then you can sit for a maximum of 30 seconds, minimum of 10, and no longer than 2 sits in one day. The law is perfectly clear on this, and I can't stand to see people flout it in this way.
Nor can I. So if you know the whereabouts of Betty Ford, please call this news channel.
Breaking news now in a follow-up story to a story that we reported on previously. You probably remember our reports on animals and people and corruption. Reports about Mr. Lizard, Mr. Bird, and Ellie Fant, the famous judge. All of whom were completely exonerated, completely acquitted of any wrongdoing. And now we bring you the story of Mr. Puppy, the youngest member of Congress. Mr. Puppy recently achieved his position due to the results of an election and is the first conviction ever obtained in history of there being just massive corruption, massive wrongdoings. This puppy is going down for all the crimes that it committed, and there is ironclad evidence. This puppy was caught red-handed due to unnamed witnesses, eyewitnesses, and is going to be facing 40 years in prison.
I'm not sure that's enough, Jordan. I'm hoping those are human years and not dog years in prison. But if a puppy is this young and has committed this many crimes, what's he going to do when he's an old dog?
Exactly. Certainly not learn new tricks. And if this puppy has started on the path of crime at such a young, tender age, even with those innocent eyes, it's important that we bring down the hammer of justice swiftly and hardly.
I agree.
And now, that brings us to our expert interview. I have with me now an expert by the name of Dan Moser. And Dan Moser set a new world record as he survived for 30 minutes without his phone. No notifications, no apps, no alerts, no phone for 30 minutes. Dan, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me. Sorry, can you just excuse me for just one quick second here?
Sure, no problem.
Okay, I'm back again. Sorry about that.
Now, Dan, you have achieved this record. You smashed the previous record of not looking at your phone, not engaging with your phone, being completely without your phone. How did you manage to do it when it was just there within reach? You could have just grabbed it, picked it up.
Just a will of iron, Jordan. There are many times when I cracked during the 30 minutes. At minute 1, everything seemed fine. But by minute 3, my mind was swirling and whirling, just desperately telling me, reach for that phone, reach for that phone. It was like I was holding my breath. But I was able to push through it, persevere, and get through the next 30 minutes, even though my doctors tell me that I removed a significant amount of my lifespan by enduring that.
Well, certainly the stress that
Sorry, just give me one sec
under.
here. Just one quick sec here.
Yes, of course. Certainly the stress that your heart was placed under is going to affect your life. They say that your brain has aged 40 years in that 30 minutes. Dog years, of course, not human years.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at you, and what I see is a hero. I see a emblem that people should look to on how maybe they can change their lives for the better.
Well, Jordan, as a guy who has gone without his phone for 30 seconds, I do not recommend anyone else do that. You see, I said 30 seconds right there, but it was actually 30 minutes. Can you believe that? Even I can't believe it to this day.
At first, when I heard the reports, I didn't believe it. I said, you are a liar to the person that told me you went without your phone for 30 minutes. And then I threw coffee in their face. And then
Totally
after a little bit of research and looking you up, finding out a little bit more about you, speaking to you on the phone, I still didn't believe it. And I threw another cup of coffee in their face. But then, after I met you, I do believe it.
Well, you can see just one quick second. I'm just getting
Of course.
Okay, sorry about that. The thing is, Jordan, we have these magical devices in our pockets, and here I was sitting there ignoring it. I missed 30 minutes of news. 30 minutes of things happening in the world that I'll never know about. I'm now kind of like stuck in the past 30 minutes almost. So whereas you're digesting the news stories of right now, I'm still trying to go back and scramble for the ones I missed 30 minutes ago.
Astonishing. Well, that's all the time that we have now. Thank you for joining us, Dan. I look forward to seeing what else happens in your life. Perhaps you'll set a new record another time and come back on the show. Tell us about it.
Oh, actually, I've written an ebook called How Not to Look at Your Phone for 30 Minutes. It's unfortunately only available on phones right now. So still working out the logistics of all that. But once we get that into a format that doesn't force you to look at your phone, I'll come back and let you know.
Fantastic. We'll put a graphic of that up on the screen. And thanks again for joining me today. I throw it now to Dan Moser with sports.
Thank you for that, Jordan. I've got a lot of interesting news in the world of sports to share today. Normally on this program, we go back and recap sporting events that have already happened in the past. Well, not today, friends. Today, I will be revealing sports scores that have happened in the future. So let's flash forward to the year 2026, to the Winter Olympic Games in Milan/Cortina. Alpine skiing will be won by Luxembourg. The first ever gold they've won in this event, so very impressive to them. Switzerland will win curling, and Italy will win the luge.
Well, I didn't know Italy were a bunch of losers, but I guess they will be in the future.
That's right. They've still got several years to prepare for this, Jordan.
And Luxembourg. Oh, yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, just one more score I wanted to reveal here. The nation of Romania, which, as you know, is home to Transylvania, they are going to win the event, the skeleton.
Well, that's right in their wheelhouse. So I expect them to have a natural advantage when it comes to the skeleton.
Indeed.
Wow. It's shocking. And Luxembourg, with their alpine skiing, I'm not sure what the difference is between skiing an alpine and skiing a mountain. I'm not sure the distinction there. But clearly they will do their training and will come out on top.
Yeah, their captain of the team will say that they gave it their all, that they really put their heart and soul into it, and that all the sacrifice was definitely worth it.
Amazing. Well, Dan, I also have some breaking news from Future Sports.
Oh, wonderful.
The Cowboy Campfire Finals are on tonight, immediately following this broadcast. You can watch them here, where Chester Smith will face off against Dog Jones as their fires go face to face in tonight's competition, happening live. And of course, last week during the semifinals, Dog Jones's brother, Jimmy Jones, was taken to the hospital with life-threatening burn injuries after his fire was defeated by none other than Chester Smith's fire. So a bit of a revenge story happening there, a bit of a vengeance story with the Jones brothers and Chester Smith.
That is going to be a real exciting competition. I have recently gotten into these fire sports, as you know, you're the one who turned me on to them. And yeah, I can see how easily it would be to burn over 90% of your body with a fire in this way.
It's very easy to do, especially when there's competitive campfires involved. As you know, these are professional athletes. They train harder, longer, faster than the average person. And with great sports comes great risk.
Well, these athletes want to just keep pushing their fire further and further and further, you know? The blaze getting larger and larger and larger. I bet in the next 5 years, we're going to see full city blocks on fire for these competitions.
I think you're right, but I have to wonder if there's some sort of fire steroids involved when a fire gets that big. I don't think a fire can naturally increase its mass that much without some sort of thing being put into it, some sort of stimulant or substance.
Since I started researching the sport, I have found that there was actually a big gasoline scandal that happened in the 80s with this sport. And it was only found out because a person was caught, putting the gas into the gas canister. And then they accidentally said, oh yeah, it's for a fire rather than it's for my car. So that blew the whole thing wide open.
As fires tend to do, you get one of them backdrafts and a blowout, and it's out of control.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's all the time we have for sports today, but I'd like to turn it over to Jordan Ward now for a PSA, a public service announcement. Jordan?
Thank you, Dan. Hi, my name is Jordan Ward from Breaking the News with Dan and Jordan. And I'm here to raise awareness about the changing public attitudes and behavior towards the giant baby seal that has been attacking our cities. We need to approach this seal in a certain way. We need to demoralize it by no longer telling the giant baby seal that it is cute. This has to stop. I implore you to not look into this baby seal's giant, beautiful eyes, majestic eyes, and instead realize that it is just a machine of destruction. We got to destabilize this seal, find some sort of way to trip it, or maybe push it back into the sea to get it away from toppling buildings. Then we're going to be at a crisis point where we won't quite be sure which way it's going to swing. Is the seal going to crush us all to death? Are we going to be able to make the seal flee? At this stage, the battle against the giant baby seal with big, beautiful eyes could swing either way. We may lose a lot of people to the seal's appeal and feel, so you can pet it like a dog. Of course, then after that will come a period of normalization and stability, where we will hopefully get used to not having a giant baby seal around as much, anymore, because hopefully it will be gone, and eventually grow up to become just a regular giant seal.
Well, thank you for that, Jordan. I can tell that that really means something to you. So I have a PSA of my own that I have been contracted to deliver, and I would like to do that now. Come on. A giant baby seal, that's not so bad, right? He's so cute, he's fuzzy, he's fluffy, he's got those sweet little eyes and that funny little fur, and sometimes he flops over on his back and you can see his little tummy. People come up and rub it, give him nice rubs, and sure, maybe he's killed quadruple-digit numbers of people. Sure, maybe that's true. But can we really afford to not have this seal in our city? That's the question we need to ask ourselves as citizens. Now, tourists are streaming in. And sure, a lot of those tourists are firefighters from neighboring towns and the military rolling through to try to stop this seal. But think of the amount of money they bring with them to fund all the businesses that are left. So even though the seal may be responsible for the death of thousands and the shutdown of over 50% of all business, the remaining 50% are booming. So I'm Dan Moser, and I'm here to say, please consider allowing the seal to stay. Thank you.
Wow. That was compelling, Dan. That really got me. I felt every word of what you said.
Oh, I was just reading off cards. I just take money for these and just say whatever they tell me. So.
Oh, me too. I just read the reply on mine. It's a reply to Dan, tell him that it was really heartfelt and that it really got to me.
Okay, great.
Well, we can both agree that giant baby seals are beautiful and terrible at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps
Indeed.
the greatest threat to civilization, perhaps the greatest boon to civilization. Only time will tell. That's right. Who is to say? Certainly not us. All we are here to do is report the facts. And that's exactly what we do. Of course, next week we will be reporting the facts as well, won't we, Dan?
That's right, we will, Jordan. Now is the time of the show where we kind of give you a little taste of what we're going to be searching for next week. And I know that I've always got my nose to the ground looking for news, and I've sniffed up a heck of a story, let me tell you. I'm going to be telling the people next week about something that I've discovered called trees. Now, we're all familiar with grass and plants and things, right? But did you know there's like kind of a monstrous version of plants too? They can grow hundreds of feet and live thousands of years? I was startled when I found out.
This is astounding. Of course, next week, I will also be bringing you a special story. You've probably stood in the wind, but have you ever wondered what the wind is thinking? Well, the wind is set to debut a brand new book that is already shot to #1 on the World Times bestseller list. It's entitled The Wind's Autobiography. Blow Me, The Wind.
Bit of a cumbersome title there, but...
Bit of a cumbersome title. Yeah, well, The Wind is, it's his first book, and I'm looking forward to finding out more about it.
Me too. The wind has long been a mysterious thing in our lives. Well, one more story that I'm chasing down for next week, Jordan, is I have finally tracked down the person who killed my twin brother. And I will be having an interview with them next week, kind of asking them how he managed to get at him and what tactics he used so that I can protect myself in the future against a killer using similar methodology.
Fantastic. Speaking of tactics, next week, I have a story on the safest way to deploy hot dog toppings. That's right, ketchup, mustard, relish.
Oh.
You probably encountered these hazards before.
Yes.
Wondered, how do I put it on the hot dog and not put it on my shirt? I'll be bringing you those tips next week.
I was actually trapped for a few hours under a large mound of relish. I had to be saved by the fire department, and so that story can actually really help me out too. Maybe we can talk about that a little bit more off the air here.
I hope so. When you were trapped under that relish, that was amazing, because I remember you called me up and you said that you were almost going to cut your arm off to get out from underneath it.
Right. I didn't know what to do. I'm like, okay, well, is this just what my life is now? I don't need this much relish. Why did I ever think I needed this much relish? Why is there nothing here to guide me with putting on relish?
Mm-hmm. A moment that you have dreaded ever since.
That's true. It's very true, Jordan. Well, one last final story that we're chasing down, Jordan, is Jordan Ward. Is he who he says he is? The answer is yes. And we'll have more on that next week.
A hard-hitting interview that will cut at the very core of who I am and who I'm not.
Let's just play one quick clip from that interview, Jordan. So, you call yourself Jordan Ward, are you?
I am.
A thrilling clip, and we'll have more of that next week. So don't forget to tune in. It's going to be a wonderful show, probably one of our best.
Outstanding. I know I never miss an episode. So if you liked this show, then please consider listening to more.
That's all the time we have this week. I'm Dan Moser.
I'm Jordan Ward.
Thank you for listening.
The news is broken. This has been Breaking the News with Dan and Jordan.